Hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors. We are Tribe.co.
Natural sports nutrition delivered direct to you. Get a free trial pack of 6 delicious energy bars, trail mix, recovery bars and shakes for just £1 by using the code OxygenAddict1.
We're also brought to you by PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code OxygenAddict.
And a massive thanks to our patrons
who support the show with a monthly donation, and you can get our 2018 patrons only podcast as a thank you.
All right, and welcome to the show. I hope everyone's had a great training and racing weekend so far. Man, the weather's been spectacular, hasn't it, Hels? Again, another week of sun over here in the UK.
It just makes me smile, Rob. It makes me smile.
It's
Blue
ace.
Skies make me smile.
Blue skies make me want to ride my bike. There's nothing better to get you out the door, swimming, biking or running, than when the sky's blue and the sun's hot. It's just been brilliant.
It is so true, and it really does just make you feel. It makes you feel a bit alive, doesn't it?
Totally.
Having blue skies, and it makes you want to get up in the morning. And we have this cockerel that makes lots of noise very first thing in the morning. And it's like, right, rise and shine, up we get.
Yes, I was very impressed with your cockerel today. I stopped in on Hell's today during my ride, and I was desperate for a refill of the water bottle. So I thought, I know where I can go. I'll go and see Helen for a cup of tea.
I literally thought you were going to knock. I thought when you turned up, obviously you're in your lycra, and I was like, oh, right, okay, he's riding. And I thought, oh, maybe he needs a loo. But you didn't even need a toilet stop.
I was just popping in to say hi.
It was lovely. We had a nice little chat about garden, didn't we?
We did. Listen to the... Helen lives, for anyone who's in a foreign country, Helen lives in like this idyllic English countryside, and they've got a cockerel next door that was happily cock-a-doodle doing its little head off, wasn't it? Which I imagine is a bit of a challenge at 5:30 in the morning in the summertime.
It has been waking me up, a lot in recently over the recent days, but it's kind of nice. There's something quite nice about it. We had someone visiting from London this weekend, and she was very impressed by the cockerel. But sometimes you do think, I wish I could just reset it. Anyway, Rob, how was your ride?
It was awesome. I had a really good time. I managed to find most of the potholes in Cheshire,
of
which there were plenty on the route I was riding. Head down, practicing the old Matt Botterill aero position today. So didn't see quite a few of them until the last minute. But yeah, it was good fun. It's nice to get out on the fast bike, isn't it? And zoom around 3 or 4 Ks an hour faster than you used to going.
You were looking like a full-on equipped I think
the word you're looking for is chopper.
Yeah. You had your aero helmet with the visor.
Yeah.
You had your aero wheels on. You had your beautiful looking, very clean bike, Rob.
It hasn't been out in the rain, Hells.
It's a fair weather bike, let alone a fair weather rider riding it.
It's a fair weather bike. Yeah, you said it.
I'm the same. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to have to come back and clean my lovely bike. So yeah, I'm glad though. I'm glad you had a good one. And then have you been out running and swimming?
Yeah, got an open water swim in. Bumped into Lewis Eccleston actually. Open water swimming, just fresh from his 3rd place at the Outlaw, and he said, "It's all about the swim, Rob." And it was about 4:30. Everyone was going home as he was getting in. So I was like, good lad, he's obviously been busy all day, and he's turned up to put the hard yards in. So good on you, Lewis.
I'm excited to follow Lewis, Rob.
Yeah, he's got a big future in front of him.
I think so.
Definitely.
I think so. Rob, I was going to say, sorry, at the very wrong point there, but I was going to say what's coming up in this week's show.
Let's do it, because today's show is a doozy. It's the only word for it. Super excited. Today's interview of the week, to coincide with the release of his film The Man with the Halo, is Tim Don talking about his comeback after his horrendous getting wiped out by a car when he was 2 days before Kona. Obviously, most people know the story. Broke his neck, got put into a halo contraption to keep his neck still for 3 months, and it's amazing. It's an amazing story, Hells, and I know loads of people by now will have seen the video was released earlier today on Monday as we're recording, so lots of people have been tweeting about it. But he goes into a lot of detail in the interview today. And the film is made with one of those beautiful Hollywood arcs where it's like it ends with him talking to Bob Babbitt, and he goes, "Yeah, the aim's to get to Kona." And then talking to him, he's like, "Yeah, man, I still can't breathe on the one side or the other." And he is really working hard to get back. To come back from a broken neck is amazing. So it is a gritty interview in places. So maybe don't listen with kids in the car.
It is when he talks about the Halo contraption and basically being sedentary for ages, you just can't really move, all that kind of stuff. You think, wow, he has been through so much over the past 10 months, and it is just absolutely, it's incredible. And I mean, Rob, the fact that he came recently and did the marathon and he had that goal, didn't he of going, was it sub 250, Rob, or am I doing
Well, he says in the interview, he didn't say that he had a chat with a journalist beforehand, and she basically made the headline, well, didn't make it up, but extrapolated from what he said. He was like, "Man, I just want to get round. If I could go 3 hours, that'd be awesome. If I could go as fast as I went in an Ironman, that'd be incredible. Like, I usually run 250. And he said the next day, the headline was, "This guy's broken his neck and wants to run 250. And he was like, "I don't think I said that, actually." So anyway, yeah, some good stuff coming up for later on today.
Yeah, we've got that, and we're going to be announcing our Tribe Triathlete of the Month very, very shortly as well. We've got Coach's Couch, we've got loads of results to go through as well. But should we start off, Rob, with Tribe Athlete of the Month award for May?
Yeah, so May's Tribe Triathlete of the Month is awarded to, drumroll, Michael Taylor from the Nice Try Club in St. Neots.
Correct. He's been nominated by Dawn Parr, who got in touch, and she said that Michael Taylor is a fantastically supportive coach at the club, and he recently completed Ironman Texas in an amazing time of 8 hours 51, setting the new RAF Ironman record in the process.
Yep. He's such an amazing person who's very supportive of all triathletes and runners. And I love this one, Hells, because as well as competing at an extremely high level, he's obviously giving loads back to his community and to the athletes he works with as well. So I think he's deserved winner for this month, isn't he?
Definitely. So he's going to be getting a whole load of Tribe goodies on their way to Michael Taylor. Well, we had quite a load of nominations this month.
It was a hard one to work out this month, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like looking at all the different ones. We had Gemma Seabrook nominated her boyfriend, Jamie Parsonage, who apparently listens to the show. He didn't go to his race, did he? Because Gemma got ill the day before and he was looking after her. So God bless you, Jamie.
That's right. Greg Hilton as well. He got in touch nominating himself. And basically what he says about rather than buying a Porsche or a motorbike in his midlife crisis at 50, he decided to do a standard distance try. And effectively, Rob, he's really, really improved massively. Loads of other nominations as well. What were the other ones? Some of the other highlights, Rob?
Chris Goodall nominated. He nominated himself, and it's a really interesting letter he sent through, and we're going to come back to it in a future episode. Actually, I'd quite like to get him on because he tells a great story about sitting next to somebody at the briefing before a race and noticing a strange-looking mole on the guy's leg. Chris is a doctor, and said to the guy, "I think there's something going on with that mole," and it turned out that it was skin cancer. It was melanoma that Chris had noticed, and so the guy manages to go and get it treated and stuff, and he's all right now. But I just think that's a brilliant story of someone mentioning something that's potentially saved someone's life. It's pretty awesome. But there's more to come on that story in a later edition, so we'll come back to it, hey?
Yep, and then one of the other ones which we wanted to mention was Pete Cowan, who was nominated by John Hammond. And basically, Rob, he sounds like a complete and utter endurance machine, and always around.
It's the other way around, isn't it? John Hammond is the endurance machine, and he was nominated by Pete Cowan.
Did I literally just say it the other way around?
I think we got it back to front. Yeah, it might be my ears that are back to front.
I didn't mean that at all. I meant Pete Cowan nominated John Hammond, and John Hammond is this endurance machine, all-round good guy, always raising money or awareness for a load of different charities. So yeah, they were some of the highlights of the nominations for this month's Tribe Triathlete of the Month award, but the winner, nominated by Dawn Parr, is Michael Taylor.
And just a quick shout out for Tribe as well. Thanks for sponsoring the award. And remember, if you haven't tried them yet, you can use the code OxygenAddict1 to get a trial pack for £1. Basically, you're paying for the postage. It'll come zooming through your door. All their energy bars, trail mix, recovery bars and shakes they're organic, they're vegan, they're blooming delicious, well worth a trial. And if you're like me and you get to go out on a long ride and you look in the cupboard and all you've got is an old banana and half an apple, it'd be really good if I took advantage of their deliver a box of this every couple of weeks after that they have on, so it would just be there in my cupboard all the time. I wouldn't have to come around and scrounge food and gels off you halfway through a long ride, Hels.
I did send Rob off again with some precision hydration and a gel. I think I gave you a gel, didn't I? Yeah. And also a little frozen chocolate cake for your back pocket. I said it would defrost on your way back.
It was defrosted by the time I got to Knutsford, and it was yummy as well. We're gonna have the recipe for that one, mate. That was not too sweet, but
yeah, really not too sweet, is it?
Did the job. I stopped and pulled over to eat it and got passed by two lads on road bikes, and they were riding quite hard, and I was finishing my thing, and I thought it would be really sad of me to chase them down and pass them, but I'm going to, so I did. Powered by your little chocolate munchkin cake.
I'm glad it's not just me that does that. Honestly, Rob, if I'm commuting, I think it's a fairly normal human reaction, isn't it? Someone comes past and you think, right, I'm going to try and stick on their wheel. It was like I went swimming yesterday and I could tell that I could sense there was someone on my right and I was thinking, they're moving quite quickly. And I realised clearly in the open water swimming, if someone comes past me, I know I will not be able to stick with them.
Right.
But I really tried hard to stay on their feet because I thought, well, this is going to be good drafting practice for a little bit.
Good on you.
And it was, but I couldn't stick with them for very long at all. But it was good practice while it lasted.
Good stuff. It's good to get to be made to be worked hard by somebody in the water, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Especially
if you're like me and you're dead lazy and you just poodle around and move your arms.
Well, especially in the open water, I find, because the places I go, we've spoken about them before, there are quite a lot of people in there, and there are, you get to maybe a little boy and it's like, oh God, let's go around someone doing breaststroke, or there are quite a few people around. So then actually to have someone whizzing past, I'm like, right, this is a good opportunity, because in open water there's so much more space. It's not like when you're in the pool and you can, hop on someone's feet.
Yeah.
The opportunities. It's
great fun, isn't it?
Yeah, there aren't as many, so it's good to make the most of them when you can.
I know what I was going to tell you. I've been good to my word, Hels. I've bought one of those tow floats.
Oh.
After we talked a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. How is it?
It's great. Really impressed with it. I got one from Wiggle, not sponsored or anything like that, but it's just really, really good. One of their bottom of the range, supposedly DHB ones, and it's a tow float and a bag, so it inflates on both sides of the bag, and then it turns into a dry bag, so you can put your car keys and your phone and stuff in it, and they stay dry.
Very cool.
And it inflates on both sides of it to make a great big, and it's massive as well. It's probably 18 inches long when it's inflated.
Really?
So yeah, really, really impressed with it. So loads of buoyancy, and it was about 25 quid, I think. So well worth it if you're a wild swimmer, I think.
Rob, I am going to the lakes in a couple of weeks, and with a friend who very much likes wild swimming. So maybe I might have to invest in one.
I think it's one of those things that if you ever need it, it will pay you back 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Inspired. Right. Good.
Right. Let's jump over and do some results then. Let's have a little look. See, results this week sponsored by our friends at Precision Hydration. Now, we've already mentioned you can get yourselves over and you can use our code OxygenAddict to get yourself a free box or tube of Precision Hydration worth up to $9.99. Hels, you've been a lifesaver for me by giving me that bundle of pH today, because I completely run out.
And really?
Completely. I think when I got home and checked the cupboard, I had 2 salt tablets left. That was it for my stash. And because of that, I've been nursing them. And so because of training in the hot weather recently, have I been suffering with night cramps recently?
I imagine you have, Rob. I imagine that it's just been.
In a way that only someone who suffers with night cramps can understand. It's been agonizing. I was crying one night with the pain of my calf having locked up, and you can't reach down and stretch it out. You can't get out of bed to press it against the wall. So it's been a lifesaver you give me those packets. So thank you very much. Guys listening, if you're training in hot weather like it is at the moment, and you just need to keep on top of your electrolyte intake, these are the guys to go to. Go online, do the free online sweat test, check out what kind of sweater you are, whether you're a heavy or light sweater, whether you're probably a salty or not salty sweater. If the signs are pointing towards you being either a heavy or a salty sweater, it's very, very recommended to go and see them in person and have one of their sweat tests done. And then you know exactly how much salt you need to replace. Because if you're someone like me, it turns out you need about 10 times more than you actually think you do, quite literally. So there are people who need all that extra stuff. So get over to precisionhydration.com and check it out. Use the code Oxygen Addict to get yourselves £10 worth for free, basically. And never suffer from night cramps or cramps in races again.
No, Rob, and you know what? The team have been over, the Precision Hydration guys, they've been over in the States recently, doing talks and stuff at the Endurance Performance Training Centers. They've been over in California, and also they've been, I swear they've been working recently with like Nigel Benn and stuff.
Yeah. They do a lot of work with boxers, and they do a lot of work with American football teams as well.
Exactly. So they really are the guys who, you know, they
They're the
work
best in
with
the business.
The best. Exactly.
No
They
question.
are the best in the business, and they work with some of the world's, you know, biggest sports stars,
including Helen Murray and Rob Wilby.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Enough about them. Thanks very much for sponsoring the segment, Precision Hydration. Right. Let's talk about a place where I bet there was a serious amount of electrolytes consumed at Ironman Lanzarote this weekend. It was hot.
It's pretty much always hot in Lanzarote, isn't it?
Yeah. It's either hot or it's really hot at Ironman Lanzarote.
Yeah, totally. Well, Rob, there are three massive results from a sort of British perspective from Ironman Lanzarote. First up, Dr. Lucy Gossage took the win, Rob. She only decided to race it a couple of weeks ago, and
I read that, yeah. Did she just, I fancy it, I'm going to go to Lanzarote and do the race while I'm there. What a legend.
She had sort of said, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this for, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to just sort of, as she says, like rock up and do an Ironman.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, 4 weeks ago, it wasn't on her radar. And then I think, yeah, just under 4 weeks ago, she decided, actually, I'm going to enter. And she went and won the damn thing, Rob.
Is that her 10th? I think I'm right in saying her 10th career win. 10th career Ironman win. That's brilliant, isn't it?
And even, I think, more impressive fact is that out of her 19 pro starts, she has been on the podium 18 times.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Just brilliant. So yeah, you were saying it, a good day for British professional ladies there. Tell us some more, Hells. Not just professional ladies either, I believe.
Correct, not just professional ladies, because second place overall, so second female, age groupers and pros kind of thing, was Simone Mitchell, Rob.
So she runs through the pro field to finish in second overall. That's spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah, she did a 3:08 marathon. She is definitely she is a 70.3 age group world champion.
Yeah.
And a few years ago at Kona as well, again as an age grouper, she had some really amazing performances. She's won, you know, 2 of the trophies. So basically she is, one to very much one to watch.
Just think, if Lucy hadn't decided to turn up last minute, she'd have won the race overall, possibly.
Could have done. Yeah,
wow.
Could have done. And then Nikki Bartlett, Rob, who we are going to hopefully hear from as well later on in this show. she was third pro over the line. So if we're counting in Simone, then Nikki was fourth. But in terms of pro ranks, then
Makes it on the
Nikki
pro
was,
podium.
Yep, pro podium. So third spot for her, finishing behind Michelle Vesterby. And I know that Nikki was meant to do Ironman South Africa, Rob, but had that bike crash, couldn't do it,
that's
really
right.
gutted.
Yeah.
So she's had to come through all the rehab of that. So it's been a really difficult last few months for Nikki. So I'm really chuffed for her to have got on the podium there at Ironman Lanzarote. Superb. And Rob, she did a 3:16 run, so big PB
Decent,
there.
Yeah, very decent.
Really, really solid.
Congratulations, Nikki. I think we also need to give a shout out to Brian Fogarty, who we've had on the show in the past, who is making his pro debut. I believe he biked his way into 5th place. He went sub 5 hours on the bike. I biked his way into 5th at the start of the run and ended up finishing 14th. So top work, Brian. That's really good. I love it when we see people making that jump and step up to racing pro. So good stuff, man.
That's it. And Rob, he said as well that he's been carrying a bit of an injury as well recently. And so he's hoping that will sort itself out, I think, in time for UK, I think. The race was won on the men's side by Alessandro De Gasperi of Italy, who won it a couple of years ago. And then Ivan Rania was second and Cyril Viennot of France was third.
Good stuff. Right, a couple of other races we've got going on around the world. We had Ironman Brazil was on as well, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, Rob. It's always a very fast course, isn't it? And it was won by Jesper Svensson of Sweden in 8 hours and 8 minutes, ahead of Igor Amorelli of Brazil, and then Thiago Vinhal as well of Brazil. And then in the women's race, Kirsty Jan of Canada took the win, 8:54. Sarah Piampiano, who we've had on, Rob, she went sub 3 on the marathon to take second, and then Bruna Mann of Brazil was third in 9:10.
Yeah, and I'd encourage anyone to go back and listen to the Sarah Pampiano interview that we did. She's a cracking woman. It was a really great interview, and I love the kind of race that she had where you rocket yourself through the field in the second half as everyone else is fading. So top work, Sarah.
Brill.
Good. Right, so we're going to jump forward and do just a quick check-in with Coach's Couch this week. This isn't a question that somebody sent in, but it's something that I think I wanted to mention for people who are going out to race on hilly courses. Something popped up in one of my athletes' Training Peaks accounts this week. He's racing 70.3 Switzerland, which has got a couple of very significant climbs on. The climbs are 20...
Oh, it does, Rob. Yes, I remember that.
So there's one probably 5 or 6 minute climb that's pretty steep, and then there's one 20 to 25 minute climb at this athlete's pace, what we're talking about here. So he's been out and done a couple of laps of the course in training as his racing and came back with basically an intensity factor of 92%. So essentially meaning, all things being equal, he's just ridden for 2 hours, 45 minutes at 92% of threshold, which is a pretty phenomenal effort. So I was looking at the numbers and thinking, so we had a chat and I said, how did it feel? Did it feel like you're obviously really drilling it? And he said, no, I wasn't. I was riding within myself. I was making a decent effort because it's a race sim, right? But I wasn't absolutely murdering myself uphill. And so I thought it was worth mentioning this idea that we test threshold, and we tend to test it indoors on a turbo trainer. We then take this outdoors and think that this number is sometimes the be all and end all, but it's worth remembering that you can put different amounts of power out in different positions over different terrain. So typically, athletes can put out more power on a road bike than they can on a time trial bike. So it's not unusual for someone to test on a time trial bike and then find they've got 20 or 30 more watts on the road bike as they're riding along. And it's also not uncommon to find that they've got 20 or 30 more watts going uphill than they had riding on the flat. It's partly to do with the way that your body recruits muscles and the firing patterns of them. It's partly just that mechanically it's easier to put the power out in different positions. So I just wanted to raise that with people and sort of say, look, you don't need to panic if it looks like your power's exceptionally high on the climbs come race day compared to what you tested. But I think a really good way to go about this is to do some testing and training like this athlete's done and go out and ride If you can't ride the course, ride something similar. So you know what your own particular body does, and you can be comfortable with the fact that, okay, my power meter's telling me that I'm putting out 95 or 100% of FTP on this climb, but it doesn't feel it. So what's going on here? So it's just to be aware of that idea that on different terrains, on different bikes, in different positions, you're going to be more or less efficient, and just have something to sort of check yourself in against, really. And ultimately, that power meter is just there to hold you back anyway. So don't feel like you need to chase the numbers. Treat them as a cap to your effort to hold you back, to give you the best chance of having a decent run.
Nice. And Rob, so that was my first 70.3.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah, way back in the day, huh?
Way back in the day, in 2012. Oh my goodness.
Happy memories. Pick a nice, easy one to get started on, Hells.
Oh my God. I think I sort of semi-have nightmares from it.
Was it as bad as that?
Purely because I was just petrified. Absolutely petrified. And I was thinking, I don't even know if I can do any of this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was too scared on the bike to. I honestly, I didn't eat enough because and I didn't take on enough calories. I was too scared on the bike to even like take a bottle out or to swap a bottle. So I don't think I even swapped a bottle. Then the swim was just this idea of a complete and utter nightmare for me. I really did not enjoy that. The bike, I think I thought if I could ride 330, I would be happy, and I think I just about managed to ride 330. This was like pre-aero bars, pre-anything, Rob. I was just on my
Decent
road
performance,
bike.
that on a road bike, yeah.
Well, then I got off the bike and I was like, oh my dear God, the run was horrendous. 2:08 I did for the run in my first.
I think it's great that you talk about this, because there will be hundreds, possibly thousands of people listening in the same position as you, about to go and do the first event. And firstly, it's great for people to hear. Hells, I remember exactly the same thing. I remember lining up at Llanberis for the half Ironman UK in 2001 or 2 or something, and just being terrified of the people around me in the water. I remember thinking, I'm going nowhere near that big pack of 600 swimmers or whatever it was. This is ridiculous. The water's freezing. But it's great for people to hear, like, you've gone from that to finishing like top 10 overall Ironman UK just by practicing, right?
Yeah,
it's not
practicing.
It's not you were born inherently fantastic at the sport. By practicing, you get better at it and you get more confident. But people need to remember that these things you do need to practice. And if you're coming up to your first race, maybe getting your husband or wife to stand at the roadside with a bottle so you can practice picking it up off them as you go by isn't a bad idea, right?
No. My other thing, which I remember just really freaking out and just getting such a dry mouth before the swim and thinking, I really wish I had a bottle of water with me, which I could just take a few sips of.
Yeah, that's a real classic one, isn't it?
Yeah, I just remember thinking, I need some water. I literally need some water right now.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah.
There's always someone nice who's got a 2-litre bottle of Evian who'll let you have a bit but won't let you put your lips on the bottle. You're like, we're not going to get sick now, dude, because it starts in 30 seconds time.
Oh, I'm sure. Is it Ironman Austria or is it the 70.3 in Switzerland where you ring the bell? That's Ironman Austria, isn't it? You go through the town centre and you have to ring a bell. In 70.3 Rapperswil, Rob, you get a flight of stairs.
Oh, tasty.
Yeah.
Take on plenty of precision hydration there for those crampy hamstrings. That'd be my advice to you.
Oh, stunning place though. I highly recommend it to anybody.
I bet.
Yeah.
Great stuff. All right. So listen, there you go. If you're feeling a little bit nervous before your first race, that's okay. We all were too. Bit more practice, you'll be a bit less nervous. It's all good. And if you want any more tips, advice, help, send us an email to help@oxygenaddict.com. You can check out the free resources we've got on the website there. You can even contact us for a free 2-week sample training plan to have a look at. So just drop us a line and we'll do whatever we can to help you out. All right. Now, speaking of people being helped out, Helen, let's go over and listen to the wonderful, super brave, inspirational Tim Don, former Ironman World Record holder, hit by a car 2 days before Kona. left with a broken neck, and has been through some incredible rehab stories. So here we go. Here's our interview of the week with Tim Don. All right, so Tim, welcome to the show. It's fantastic to have you on, man. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay, thank you. The sun's shining in Colorado. It's 9 a.m. and I've got my first session under the belt, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, you just telling me you've just done a track session before 9 a.m., which I think has got to be worth double points, right?
Oh yeah, I take off 2 seconds per rep, just for that time difference. So
It
no,
takes
it's
me at
nice
my
to get
age,
out there.
man. It takes me about an hour to think about doing any running in the morning before my Achilles let me get out the door. So it's great you can do fast running first thing.
Oh no, well there's a group of us, Julie Divins, who coaches me with Matt Bottrell. She obviously lives in Colorado, so there's about five guys and 3 girls running. So it's a nice little group we've got going here.
Great
So
stuff.
no, it's good.
Hey, well, listen, the big reason that I wanted to get you on around this time was obviously you've got this incredible story of a comeback from a broken neck that happened in a car crash when a car hit you when you were riding your bike out in Kona. And your team have put an amazing video together, which I've seen about 3/4 of it, I think. The draft of it that I saw ends just before you go to do the run at the end. So I haven't seen like the finale of it, but I've got to say the film itself is absolutely amazing, man. I had tears in my eyes 3 separate times when I was watching it. And that wasn't even the times when you were having the surgeries done. So I wanted to get you on, and I know everybody's read your story and heard your story in brief in the press, and it's basically, Tim was in this crash, he got hit by a car, he broke his neck, he's had this rehab, and now he's making a comeback, which is amazing in itself. But I think the film does an incredible story of showing exactly what you've gone through in that intervening time, and there's a lot of extremely intimate footage in it, isn't there, that was taken almost pretty much right from you being taken out of the ambulance. So I mean, tell us the story. Talk us through it. First up, you're 2 days out from the Ironman World Championships. Was it 2 days or 3 days out?
Wednesday, so yeah, I guess 3 days out. Yeah.
So pretty much last ride before the race, and what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I was riding out. I rode out easy from the hotel on the Alley Drive. Rode up past the swimming pool, out on the Queen K. In the cycle lane, and about 4 or 5 kilometers out of town on the Queen K, there's a petrol station, and I was right, and it was to my right, and I'm on the right side of the road because in the US, and a car coming towards me basically turned in front of me to go to the petrol station, and the driver either didn't see me, thought I was going slower or quicker than I actually was. I wasn't on my aero bars. I fully locked my rear wheel, and it was the first time I'd put my new race tires on, my new latex tubes, I had my aero helmet on, testing all the equipment. I remember actually locking my rear wheel to try and stop, and then the next thing I remember was about 20-25 minutes later when I came to, and I got T-boned. I went straight into the side of him and stopped dead, and obviously, I hardly had any road rash, but my right shoulder was massively swollen, and obviously I'd hit my head. And later on, we found out to the extent of how hard I'd actually hit the car.
Yeah, it's terrifying. There's a photograph, isn't there, of just in the aftermath of it happening, and you can see your bikes and bits on the floor, and it's just horrendous. And I was watching it firstly, sort of as a cyclist. I was completely in that, God, this could happen to any one of us mindset. This is going to be a kind of personal question, I guess, but how did you feel when you came round? Were you aware of what had happened? Can you remember much from that time?
I can remember, bits and bobs in the initial aftermath. I remember the car was white. I remember locking up, hitting him. And then when I came to, I was sore and I was like, oh no. And I just thought, oh no, I've broken my collarbone because my right shoulder was sore. But I felt it, and I've got quite protruding collarbones, and there wasn't a crack, and I thought, oh, hopefully I've just got whiplash. Oh no, my bike!
Yeah.
Like we all love our bikes. And then I was lucky that one of the first people to the scene was a guy who was out there watching from Australia, and he was a doctor. So he made sure, because I was laying in the middle of the road, when they moved me, to the side of the road, he made sure that my, any head collision, that my neck was stable. And then we waited for the ambulance. But I wasn't, in that moment, I was actually in and out of consciousness for about another 40 minutes. It wasn't until I was really in hospital that I kind of I was with it, because they'd given me a drip. I think it was just the shock of the accident. I remember vaguely in the ambulance, they were trying to get a drip in my arm, and they couldn't find a vein, and I was getting annoyed with them. And then I remember waking up in hospital. Then I remember waking up in having an MRI scan. So yeah, I think I'd obviously hit my head pretty hard and had some sort of severe concussion as well.
And at what point then did you get told that you'd basically fractured vertebrae in your neck?
Not for a while. I mean, they had a portable X-ray machine, so they came and X-rayed my shoulder and said, "Oh, that's not broken." So I was like, "Oh, brilliant!" And I was still I had I think it's called a C collar, like a very aggressive neck collar on, just for precaution. And I was like, "Oh, brilliant! I've just got whiplash. I think I can still race." I specialised with air, so I was thinking, "Oh, they can sort me out a bike. I might struggle in the swim a little bit, but no, this is all good." And then I had a CAT scan on my brain, just because they wanted to make sure, with any head-on collision, and they said, well, I wouldn't say everything was fine, but it was the same. it was passable. And then I had an MRI scan, and I remember going in for the MRI scan, and a nurse would hold my head, some on my hips and some on my ankles, and they would slide me onto the MRI table. And you're in there and you've got the headphones on, and they say, "Okay, we're done now, we're coming in to get you." And I'm like, "Yeah, no worries, that's fine." Then I remember them coming in, and there were like 8 nurses that came in, and I was like, "Oh, hello, what's going on here?" And someone had my ankles, someone had my shins, someone had my knees, someone had my thighs, someone had, they were being a lot more careful. I'm not saying they weren't careful, and obviously I said, "Oh, what's wrong?" "No, nothing. No, you have to wait to see what the doctor says," etc. And then I realized that there was something pretty severe, because they were, even walking, or I wasn't walking, sorry, I was laying on the bed being pushed down the corridor to the accident and emergency room. It wasn't just one person pushing me. There were 2 people at the front making sure no one banged the bed. And then I realized, and then I think Franco was there, and Julie, Franco's my manager, and Julie and my good friend Pat. And they, I think they, the nurses must have said, "Oh, sugar, this isn't good." Because when they came in, there was definitely a mood change from everyone being, "Oh, don't worry," to, "Holy sugar, we don't know the extent, but you've kind of broken your neck." And then the doctor came in and says, "Yeah, you've broken your neck in C2." And I always thought C2, your neck was kind of your neck, but C2 is actually in line with your top lip. So it's really high up. And obviously they were worried that it was so close to the brain that you've got lots of tiny blood vessels. So they were worried about getting a small blood clot and then it getting forced into the brain. And then it got quite serious.
Yeah. Oh man, you said it. So it sounds like there's this. I mean, I even saw you put a video out on Twitter, didn't you, where you were saying, "Oh, I can't believe I'm practicing my new aero position for the race," and we were like, "Wow, this guy's got a great sense of humor and he's really jolly." And I guess at this point is when you're starting to realize things are much more serious than we at first thought they were.
Well, I think, up until kind of then, I hadn't taken any painkillers. I'd only been on a saline drip because I still wanted to race, and I was in a lot of pain. But it was at that moment when they told me I had a broken neck, I thought, "Oh, I can't take this any longer. Yeah, give me the morphine."
Yeah.
So when I made that video, I was under the influence of morphine, I will be honest.
All right, so listen,
yeah.
I was just going to say, would you mind talking us through I know in the film it says you're given 3 options of a way to look after your neck, and you go with the halo, which is where the title of your film comes from, The Man with the Halo. That thing just looks, I mean, to give it some context, I was telling my 6-year-old son that I was about to interview you, and I showed him a picture of you, and he was like, I told him the whole story, and then just before we were walking back from school with him, and he shouted to his friend, "Oh, I can't come and see you. My dad's got to go and interview somebody who's got bolts in his head." And all the 6-year-old friends were like, "Wow!" I mean, yeah, really, the contraption itself does look medieval, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, it is medieval.
There's no question.
Yeah, and I'm like, come on. Well, joking with the doctors once it was on, I was like, surely there must be a modern version of this that isn't as intrusive. And they said, well, that's the fusion. So they said I could have a fusion where they get 2 titanium bolts and they kind of like, I guess, fuse bolt C1 and C2 together. But that would really eliminate 50% of my movement, turning right and left and up and down. And that also puts more stress on C3, C4, C5.
Yeah.
So if you have that operation, there's a good chance within 10 to 15 years that you need to have another fusion. And I was lucky that Dr. V, the doctor that saw me, he's done Kona as an age grouper. He's actually doing Alaska Man this year, the Ironman in Alaska. He totally understands.
Oh, wow.
What I want to do. When I say I do a bit of training, he knows what a bit of training is, etc., etc. And he said, look, as you know, literally the halo's the only way. It's a plaster cast for your neck. You could have a neck brace on, but you're going to move it. And they weren't so worried about the calcification of the bone and the fracture healing. They were more worried about the stability of the curvature in my spine and also the gaps between my vertebrae. Even every 3 weeks after the accident, I had to go back for checkups and get CAT scans, get X-rays, and they kept on. Even like 6 weeks, they're going, "Have you had any numbness in your feet, any pins and needles? Have you lost bladder control?" All the signs that something's not right with movement of your lower limbs. But yeah, with the halo, it really does lock it in place. I mean, to give you an example, when you're tightening your seat post up, you're tightening your Allen key to about 4 to 6 Newton meters. Is that about right?
Yeah.
So they had to tighten the 4 screws into my head up to 8 Newton meters.
Oh, crikey.
So even tighter than you do your seat post. And they kept on coming loose when I was in the gym. So I had to have them retightened. And initially they gave me a local, but every time they retightened them, they couldn't give me any pain meds. And one of them and every time they retighten them, they go deeper into my skull. Oh. So in December, I actually had to have a CAT scan, not on my neck, but on my screws, because they were worried that if they tightened it anymore, it was going to puncture my skull and go into my brain, which it was going to do. So they had to drill a 5th hole into my head in December. So that wasn't fun. And literally, they tee it up, they get an Allen key, and it's a big titanium bolt with a big point on the end, and they just tighten it up with an Allen key and with a torque wrench until it hits 8 Newton meters. I wouldn't recommend it.
So wait, let's just back up here and explain to anyone who haven't seen the photos of this. The halo is it's like a metal circle that goes around the front of your forehead, and then it's affixed by sort of 4 posts down to your shoulders, isn't it? And then that metal part itself is what's being screwed into your skull. And the thing that really got me, there's an amazing bit in the film where I think it's actually where they're taking it off at the end. And I could barely watch Tim as the guys, he was being as gentle as he could. And you could tell everyone in the room was wincing as he was doing it. And you were kind of going, oh, no, now one's a little bit tighter than it. It just looked agonizing.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, the brace goes right down to my belly button. So
did it really? Did it go that far?
Yeah. I mean, it's a big. It's all carbon and titanium because it couldn't be magnetic because I had to go into MRI and CAT scans.
Right.
So any kind of pressure, any movement of the brace, especially in the first 3 weeks. I mean, I was on like a codeine-based drug initially, and it wasn't so much the neck, it was more the screws that were painful, and obviously they're open wounds, and my wife had to clean them 2 to 3 times a day with hydrogen peroxide just to get all the gunk and swelling, and every time they came loose, my forehead would swell up like with all this fluid, because there's a foreign body moving in your skull. And I mean, I'm not just saying this. Knowing what I know, no way would I have another halo.
Really? Well, that's interesting. I was going to say, if having been through it, would you choose it again?
No.
Wow.
No way. I mean, yeah.
I mean, you do get a sense from watching. Yeah, you do get a sense from watching the video. And as I said earlier on, I can't remember whether I said this on air or whether we chatted beforehand. I had properly had tears in my eyes 3 times watching the film, and one of them was the bit where your wife's washing your hair with you kind of bent over the bath, and then it shows her cleaning the screws. Now it's just the most moving scene. You look like you're in so much pain, and she's being so gentle with the taking care of you. It's just it really got me.
There were definitely times when she was a bit rough, when she was fed up with me. No, but I mean, it affected our whole lives for 3 months. I mean, I've got a 3-year-old son who's a nutter, and I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and Kelly, my wife, became a single parent, and she had to look after me because I couldn't pick them up. I couldn't, I couldn't do bath time. I couldn't drive, and on top of that, I was sleeping in a chair downstairs because I couldn't lay down because of the pressure of the screws into my skull. It really was, a tough time for everyone,
Well, how much sleep did you manage to get sleeping sitting up in a chair?
I would say the first 3 weeks, the longest I slept was probably 90 minutes without waking up because I couldn't lean back, so I had to lock my arms in on it was like a reading chair, so I had to lock my arms in and lean forward, and literally I couldn't and also I couldn't move my jaw. Well, I can move my jaw, but I can't move my head at all. So your jaw just, whenever you fall asleep upright, my jaw just came down. So I was dribbling, my mouth was super dry. And that's with taking heavy codeine. They also gave me like a muscle relaxant to try and relax me, but it didn't agree with me. So then I started to throw up. And I remember one night I was throwing up, but when you throw up, you have that gag, your head does that jolt movement. And obviously I could not do that, but your body automatically does. So every time I did that, these screws are just digging further into my head. And I almost went into the garage to get an Allen key to take it off there and then.
Oh, man. Talking to you has made me realise that, I mean, the film itself is incredible and it's very moving, and it leaves you in no doubt of, well, I was going to say it leaves you in no doubt of what you went through, but actually it turns out there's a lot of stuff that you went through that obviously hasn't made the cut, right?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, the filmmaker, he's an English guy, super nice guy. He would come every 2 to 3 weeks for 2 to 3 days, and whatever I was doing, I'd email him before that I was doing, and he would just basically follow myself, my wife, and my family around. So yeah, no, for sure he did. They didn't get everything, but I mean,
there's some really good stuff in there, isn't there? And listen, the next thing I want to ask you about is, and it's almost spoiling it for people who haven't seen it yet, but how long was it before you went back into the gym? For people who haven't seen it,
it was about 4 weeks. I went back into the gym, and I did. Once I was off, I didn't want to go in while I was on the codeine because then you probably think you're a hero and blooming go and do too much. But it was about 4 weeks. But literally, the first time I went, John Dennis, my physio who lives in Newcastle, he flew over to kind of like assess me. And we just went in the gym, and I did 5 minutes on an exercise bike at like 75, 80 watts. And I felt like king of the world, just being able to do something. And then we kind of decided that, if I was adamant, I'm 40 years old now. I'm no spring chicken, but I'm going to retire in hopefully 2-3 years, but you want to kind of retire on your own terms, and I was determined that I wanted to get back and race just to race. And once we decided that, we thought, well, we can't do anything with the neck, but this is the longest time I'd ever had off of my body, ever in the whole 40 years of my life. So we said, well, let's work on everything we can. when you run, what's my weak link? My calves. Okay, let's work on calf strength. Let's work on shoulder mobility so you don't get tendonitis from swimming. So I started off doing very, very basic calf raises, very, very basic band work, and slowly we could build that up. Then I needed to get massage, so I'd see Marcus, my masseur, and he was kind of like managed to get his hand under the brace in my lower back and behind my shoulders to loosen me off. But yeah, I think for me, as I think that's the reason the screws were coming loose. But I had to do it. I just needed that release.
No,
endorphin release.
I can completely relate. It's on the one hand you're in all this pain, but on the other hand you're going to go completely nuts if you don't get to do something right. But
absolutely,
yeah. So fast forward to the point where the halo actually comes off. How long did you have it fixed to you for?
So screwed in for 3 months and 1 day. And then when that came off, I had what's called an Aspen collar and a Philadelphia collar. So I had a collar on. They're quite aggressive collars, and the one I used when I trained kind of like cupped my chin, and it was made out of like kickboard material, like pool boy, that foam. Yeah. So it was waterproof. And then I had one that was a bit softer for normal day to day. And then I had those collars on for another 5 weeks. And then after that, I had another 2 weeks with a foam collar, just like you can probably go to Boots and buy a 20-pound, tube sock collar, just to remind me that, I'm still recovering. And then with those collars, I could train. So about 3 days after the halo came off, I jumped on my turbo, and I could ride on Zwift and stuff. But again, all very easy, just getting the body moving. And it was probably about 3.5 weeks after the halo came off, I jumped on the Alto G and did like 30-second run, 30-second walk. And I was doing lots of walking, even with the halo. Twice a week, I was doing an hour to an hour and a half walk just along the river in Boulder. Just, I was always doing it with a friend, just chatting and just getting out and about for my sanity again.
Yeah.
And then from the Alto G, we went to a treadmill, walking, running. Then we went outside. Then we did a bit more. And, by the time the collars came off, I was probably running only 30 kilometers a week, but I was able to run outside. Which was good.
And so talk us through how you hatched this plan to run the Boston Marathon. What was the inspiration behind that?
Winning it. No, no, I don't know. I mean, most of us, we love putting on race numbers, and, I really felt I wanted to do something, and I realized I wouldn't be doing a competitive triathlon for a long time. And the opportunity came up through On, my shoe sponsor, would I be interested in doing Boston Marathon? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And I hadn't told Julie then or Matt. So I told them, yeah, I'll definitely do it. And then, about 6 weeks before, I said, oh, yeah, no, the opportunity's come up. And they were like, yeah, no, that's fine, but you're not going to run it. You're going to kind of like run, walk. And I said, yeah, well, we'll see how we go. I mean, that's how the plan came up. And then as I got closer, about 3.5 weeks before, I got really ill and had to spend probably about 6 days in bed and missed 9 days off training. The flu was going around all the schools, and I caught it off the kids. But no, I mean, leading up to the race, I did 3 weeks of, I think, 70 kilometers. And my longest run was about 28 kilometers. But when I run long, I do run at 2,600 meters above sea level. So because I do go super high. But yeah, literally every run I was doing, I was kind of getting fitter. So everyone going, you're doing your longest run the week before? And I'm going, trust me, I need the run to get through the race.
no time for a taper. There's nothing to taper from.
Not. No.
And at what point did you share with Julie and Matt, your coaches, that you were going to not walk, jog, run and wave at the crowds, but you were actually going to try and run 250?
Well, I didn't tell them that. I told them I was going to try and run around 3 hours, but I was going to make a decision at about 25, 26 kilometers, for the last bit, whether I was going to back off. I didn't want to, and I honestly, I didn't want to finish really like not
destroyed.
Dead, but yes, yeah. Running fresh, hard, is a lot harder than running an ITU race or an Ironman. You know, it's harder on your muscles, on your joints. And, you know, I was going to France with Matt to do a bike block, and I didn't want to turn up walking downstairs backwards. So, yeah, Julie she rode a mountain bike on a 10K run, and she says, yeah, well, maybe you should, you know, 3 hours is quite optimistic. And I said, yeah, no. And I did a build run with her, and she was like, oh, wow, you're moving okay. You're not holding your body as much. You know, the physio again, I was getting physio 3 times a week and a massage once a week. Plus I was still in the gym 3 times a week, doing all my stretches and self-massage and so forth. And then I did an interview for the New York Times, and the lady was super cool. She was a runner herself. You know, she came out to Boulder, and I went for a run with her and whatnot. And she wanted to go over the article while she was in New York. Just, you know, she didn't want any fake news, didn't want to so forth. So, and she said, and what time are you hoping to run? And I said, oh, I would love to run 3 hours. Oh my gosh, if I could run 250, I would be over the moon. And that was, you know, but, you know, I told her 3 hours. And then I read online, like 4 days before the race, this man wants to run 250. Get a text from Julie. Kelly's like, I thought you wanted to run 3 hours. And I said, well, I do. And all of a sudden, everyone's going, oh, you want to run 250? And I'm going, oh my gosh. And then, of course, I get to Boston. The day before the race, it starts to snow. It's a point-to-point race with slightly net downhill, especially the first 15 kilometers. But we had a headwind with, I wouldn't say gale force at all, but we had a strong headwind with lashing rain. It was -1, -2 with the wind chill factor. You know, it's a 10 a.m. start, but I had to get a bus at 6:30 to the race start and wait up the start line. So it was a real kind of like, oh my gosh, this isn't like VIP, like triathlon. There's no tent with heaters and so forth. So yeah,
so you really got put through it in order to get the time. It was biblical day, wasn't it?
Oh, I mean, yeah. If you look at the pros, I mean, I think the pro women was one in 2:38, and she's a 2:20 something runner. The men, 14 of the 25 pro men dropped out through hypothermia, being too cold, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to go out a bit quick, to get warm, and I knew it was downhill. So I got to 25 kilometers and I was on for a 2:40, and I thought, don't be stupid. So then the actual from 25k home, I was running 220k pace. Sorry, not 220, 420 kilometer pace, and that slowly was dropping me to 240, 250, 249. But I knew I couldn't. Yeah, so that was how kind of like the plan was hatched, and yeah, that's I guess how I ran. And I think the hills come later in the race, so I was able to save my legs, not running too hard up or down the hills as well.
Nice. So it sounds like, I mean, it's an incredible story to go to where you were, all this pain that you've been through in your rehab, and now obviously it would be easy for us to sit here and go, well, Tim's healed now. He's run a 250 marathon. He must be feeling great again. Just the other week, we had Will Clark on talking about his recovery from a broken collarbone, and he sort of stressed how it was like an everyday thing in it, well, every hour in his head. Am I ever going to be able to get back swimming again? It must be like 10 times that for you.
Probably 12 times compared to Will. No, I mean, at the moment, I cannot swim. When I swim, I cannot breathe to my right. Physically, it's impossible because the range of motion is just not there. You know, I still have physio. I'm still waking up two times a night with a tight back, tight shoulders. After every swim, I need to go and do self-massage and get on the foam roller. If not, if I look in the mirror, my right shoulder's higher than my left. I get lots of kind of sciatica nerve pain over the skull of the right side of the back, right side of my head, just when the muscles get tight. Yeah, I mean, my hips lock up a lot easier just because, you know, the whole thoracic part of my spine is very tight as well. And it's a case of breaking down the scar tissue in the neck, getting the mobility, being able to manipulate my neck. We've only been able to do that once to the right ever since breaking my neck, just because it's just too locked and jammed. There's too much going on there. I mean, in one physio session, I blacked out while she was doing some mobilizations of my neck.
Really?
So no, for me, I'm still swimming with the snorkel most swims, just because I can't breathe properly. And after long runs and long rides, my neck is not, I'm still taking ibuprofen for pain and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm a long way from racing, unfortunately, at the moment.
That's one of the things that comes through in that scene where, is it John, your physio, who's working on you, and he's kind of working your back and he's working your you just saying then that you blacked out. I actually couldn't watch the screen as he was doing that to you, because you hear the word physiotherapy, but it looks like you're being beaten, quite frankly, by the guy and paying for the privilege.
What was I thinking?
but that level of determination that you've got to come back from this and to race again, what is it that drives you to do that, do you think, Tim?
I mean, I wouldn't say there's a driving force. It's just, why not? Why? That's what I do. That's what I love. The sport's given me so much, and I'm willing. I believe if I can race an Ironman again, I can definitely be competitive. I know my legs and my arms are willing. We just need to sort the blooming neck out. As I say, I really, I want to finish my career on my term.
Yeah.
And not on some stupid driver not paying attention. And I would rather try and fail than not even try at all. And I think, so many, especially, now it's so public, so many people have put so much into my rehabilitation, and even looking back, so many people have put so much into my career at various stages, whether it's been the federation, coaches, sponsors, that, I mean, I just want to stand on that start line and just know I've done everything possible, like everyone who races, whether you're trying to qualify for Kona as an amateur, whether it's your first race, you're racing yourself as much as you're racing the next person. And for me, it's definitely put perspective of that. And for me, I there's no driving force. It's just what I love doing, what I want to do. And I don't know.
Well, I can't think of a better place to leave it than that, Tim. Thank you so much for spending the time for talking to us. You're a total inspiration. I think when this film comes out, we're going to try and time the release of this interview so it comes out just as your film's released. So I encourage everybody to watch it. And honestly, we wish you all the best. And I hope so much that we get to see you racing again, and you get to do what you love pain-free again.
It's never pain-free.
Well,
it's an Ironman, come on. No, I really appreciate that. No, thank you very much.
He's the man, isn't he?
Oh, Rob, seriously.
He is the man.
I always love listening to Tim Don interviews.
It's great. He's such a kind, softly spoken, unassuming, and when he races, he's got to have some of the races that guy's won. He's got to have the heart of a killer within him to go out and race the way that he does, doesn't he? Yep,
totally. Honestly, we can take so much from that interview and just learn so much from him. And Rob,
you can come back from that. You can come back from absolutely anything. It's just, it's boggling. At the point we did the interview was a couple of weeks ago, his manager had sent through a pre-production copy of the video, and it finishes before he goes to do Boston. So I watched the last 10 minutes today on I think it's a Red Bull TV video that you'll be able to find on YouTube or Vimeo. And it shows him after Boston. You've never seen anybody look so cold. And yet he just deals with it. If it'd been me, I'd be going, put the camera away and get me in a hot bath. He just deals with it. I think his capacity to deal with suffering is exceptional.
Yeah. And that is, his is beyond exceptional, Rob, because I don't know of any other pro triathletes who have had a halo to get them back walking again.
Well, I think he says, doesn't he, that only they do like 5 of them a year or something. So hardly any people in the world have ever had them, because most of the time,
an elite athlete.
Yeah, because most of the time they just fuse the 2 bones together these days and go, well, you're just not going to be able to move your neck side to side. But so much respect for him for doing that. And I really hope it would be such a wonderful story if he can get back to racing. I mean, even if he doesn't get back to racing at the very highest level and competing for the win, to have him complete Kona this year would just be such a great story, wouldn't it?
Be a fairy tale, absolute fairy tale. Yeah, seriously, you can find it, Rob. It's manwiththehalo.com.
Cool. We'll get over there and check that out. And I think a big shout out to his sponsors on running who've put that film together as well, because I think they and other companies went above and beyond to support him during the time he was down and out. So we'll give them a shout out. They sound like an extremely cool company. And
that's it.
Yeah, I like it when people help people out.
Yeah, him and his wife Kelly, and what his family must have gone through as well. So, yeah.
Tell you what, man, I'm not lying when I say I literally cried 3 times when I watched it. That scene where his wife was washing his hair the first time, I was like, oh my God. I'm as soft as they come though, so you don't want to pay too much attention to me.
I genuinely think it will get the emotions going, Rob.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Maybe tweet us. Tweet us with the hashtag I cried too. Oh, brilliant. All right, now then, let's move forward to do a little bit of news here, because I'm excited about this one, Hell. 70.3 Greece.
I know. I've never been to Greece, but it looks very nice, Rob. It sounds very nice. So yeah, Ironman have announced that they're going to be having another new race, but yeah, this time, first time in Greece. So it'll be Ironman 70.3 Greece, Costa Navarino in April of next year. General registration, Rob, is open at the moment.
I'll tell you what, it looks. I love Greece. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite places to go to, and I could happily live in a little house there in my fantasy head. Like Gerald Durrell, eat Greek food and sit by the sea writing a novel. That'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be the life, wouldn't it?
But yeah, just the pictures on the website are enough to make me want to go and sign up for this. I'm going to have a serious look at doing this next year.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good. It's basically, Rob, it's in the southwest corner of Greece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Big old journey, 3-hour drive from Athens. I shall look into it soon. Oh, only a short drive from Kalamata Airport.
There you go. Get signed up. Rob, before we go today, we need to mention that we are giving away a copy of Chrissy Wellington's book, To the Finish Line. It's going to be a personalised signed copy. So Chrissy will sign it and personalise it for the winner.
Awesome.
And what we want is the best piece of triathlon advice and the worst piece of triathlon advice you've been given. It's doing nicely on Twitter, Rob. So if you tweet us, we are at OA Tribe Podcast, and we want the best and the worst piece. Loads of people have been telling us some of their advice. For example, Lucy Gossage, worst, pro triathletes don't do things just because they're fun. Best, keep it fun. Paul Butler, best advice from Dave Scott. Your best triathlon years are always ahead of you, so enjoy. Worst piece. Of course you can do a try after a curry. We've had Lake's health coach saying the worst is that you must do 20 hours per week of training. The best is from Chrissy Smiles, and that is to keep smiling. Felicity Caddick got in touch saying the best was to force yourself to eat and drink regularly on a 70.3 race. The worst was to put your timing chip over your wetsuit. Really comfy, but impossible to get your leg out of your suit.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Bless.
I'll do one more. The Paul McIntyre said the best was get your money's worth and lap it all up, but don't take all 17 hours. Worst, you need to constantly spend loads of money on kit and gadgets.
Yeah, you don't need to, but it is fun. What else are you going to spend your money on?
Little house in Greece.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe one day. We'll see.
Yeah. So you've got until midnight on Sunday, June the 3rd, to tell us your best and your worst bit of triathlon advice to be in with a chance of winning a personalised signed copy of Chrissy Wellington's book, To the Finish Line.
Excellent stuff. All right, that pretty much brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope this hot, sunny weather continues. We'll be joining you again next week when we will have an interview with Annie Emerson.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Former, winner of 70.3 UK back in the day with a scorching run, former international half marathon runner, and now BBC commentator as well. So looking forward to that one, Hells.
She's a good giggle. Very, very good giggle. So yeah, it's a good laugh.
Good stuff. All right, so listen, everyone, get out there, take advantage of the weather, train hard, have a great time. Until next week, we will see you again soon. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And thank you very much for listening to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. We'll speak to you again soon. Cheers, everyone. See ya.